Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into a fascinating story, looking at the building blocks of career success.
That's right. We're using career success from famous people, English stories.
And it follows Daniel Reed, a young guy who started with, well, pretty much nothing.
Humble beginnings, for sure.
But he achieved quite a bit, creating something really impactful. So the question for us and for you listening is, what can we pull from his journey?
What are the lessons? Yeah. How can you apply them no matter what you do? That's what we're exploring today.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Fairhaven, small town, peaceful.
Yeah, real contrast to where he ends up later. And his family, the source notes, they didn't have much money, but they provided this rich atmosphere. Love, strong values.
That foundational support, even without the cash, it seems like it really fueled his curiosity early on.
It absolutely does. You wonder how much that shapes resilience later on. The story paints him as this kid who just constantly asked questions, read everything he could get his hands on.
Yeah, not just absorbing facts, but really wanting to know the why behind things. The how.
You feel like the engine driving him, doesn't it?
Definitely. That constant questioning. It's like active engagement, not just passively accepting stuff.
Which is step one for identifying problems later, right?
Right.
Seeing things that could be better, a crucial skill.
And then comes that big moment. He's 12, sees a video about Steve Jobs.
Right. And it wasn't just, wow, cool tech. It sparked something deeper. This desire to build something, create real value.
What do you think specifically about the Jobs story resonated so much? The innovation, the sheer impact.
Maybe just seeing that one person, with a vision could actually shape technology, shape lives. For a kid trying to figure things out, that's powerful.
It really is.
And then his mom's wisdom that night, just perfectly grounding him. Every big tree starts as a tiny seed.
It balances the big dream with, okay, what's the first small step? I love that.
That blend seems key. Ambition, yes, but also practical action.
Which leads us to him at 15, taking that part-time job. Local grocery store. Seems pretty standard.
On the surface, yeah. But the story really emphasizes the lessons. Politeness, patience.
Dealing with tricky customers, probably.
Oh, for sure. And just the value of showing up, doing the work. These basic skills, they matter everywhere. Whether you're bagging groceries or, building an app.
And he's doing this while also teaching himself after school.
Right. Off to the library, devouring books on business, tech, reading biographies.
And crucially, not just reading. He had that career map notebook. He was processing it, connecting ideas.
That's the difference, isn't it, between being taught something and actively being a learner, taking ownership.
He was driving his own education. That self-starter attitude, it feels like a strong predictor.
Absolutely. Because you learn how to adapt.
And you see him start applying it, even in small ways. Fixing computers for neighbors, building that website for the local bakery.
Yeah, they weren't world-changing projects.
Not at all, but they were real. He was taking knowledge and actually doing something with it. What's the value in those early, maybe slightly clumsy attempts?
It's that feedback loop. You try something, see if it works, fix it if it doesn't. It's not just theory anymore. You build practical skills, sure, but it's also confidence. Little wins.
Learning by doing.
Exactly.
So all this builds up. He saves enough for a laptop, starts dreaming about college business and technology.
But the money hurdle was real. Big barrier. So scholarships were the focus.
And he writes this essay pouring out his journey, his drive, his goals, and boom, full scholarship to the State Business and Technology Institute.
Must have been an incredible moment.
What do you think made that essay stand out? It couldn't have just been grades.
Probably the narrative, showing the journey, the curiosity, the action he had already taken despite the challenges, and having a clear vision. passion comes through.
That ability to tell your story. Yeah.
And receiving that acceptance,
Yeah.
validation, then leaving Fairhaven, that must have been huge, emotional, stepping into a whole new world.
The city. Big change from Fairhaven. How does that initial shock usually hit someone?
Oh, sensory overload is common. The speed, the noise, the sheer number of people. It's exciting, sure, but also maybe a bit overwhelming, a bit anonymous compared to a small town.
And college itself threw up challenges, tough classes, you mentioned noisy roommates, homesickness.
Yeah.
Pretty standard freshman stuff.
Right. But he leans on his mom's advice, that tiny seed idea, to stay grounded.
How important is having that kind of internal anchor when things get tough?
It's huge. It's like an internal compass. Reminds you of the long game when the day-to-day feels hard. And he wasn't just hoping things would get better. He had strategies.
Practical stuff. Sit in front row, ask questions, study hard, make a schedule.
Sounds simple, but it's about discipline, consistent effort, fundamental habits.
Then comes another key influence, a guest speaker, Ms. Elena Park, successful entrepreneur.
And her advice is almost deceptively simple.
Right. Start small, find a real problem, and try to solve it step by step.
It's like she just distilled everything Daniel had been figuring out intuitively. It validates his approach.
Hearing it from someone who's actually done it must have added real weight.
Absolutely. The power of mentorship, even a brief encounter like that.
So Daniel takes this advice to heart. He starts actively looking for problems around him.
And he lands on the college's online system. Slow, clunky, frustrating for everyone.
Not exactly glamorous, is it? But a real everyday pain point. Why is that often such fertile ground?
Because it's something people genuinely experience and want fixed. If you solve a widespread frustration, even a minor one, you've got a built-in audience, a real need you're meeting.
What I find interesting is his next step. He doesn't just assume he has the fix.
No, he goes out and talks to people, students, teachers. What's wrong with the current system? What would be ideal?
That user-first thinking seems really smart. Understanding the problem deeply before jumping to solutions.
It's critical. Empathy. Building something people will actually use and find helpful increases your odds dramatically.
And based on that research, the team starts coming together. He finds classmates with skills he doesn't have: coding, design.
Recognizing you can't do it all alone. Collaboration is key. Leveraging others' strengths.
Yeah, building a team with complementary skills. That seems like a big leap.
Definitely. And the source mentions the late nights, skipping social stuff. That intense dedication required to actually build something.
So they create ClassLink. It probably wasn't perfect right away.
No doubt there were bugs, iterations, but they kept at it. Got a working version.
And they get positive feedback from a professor, even the dean. How much does that early nod of approval matter?
It's huge for momentum, credibility. It tells you you're on the right track, that people who understand the environment see value in what you're doing, fuels your confidence.
And that's the point where other colleges start sniffing around, showing interest.
Right. Suddenly it's not just a class project anymore. It might actually be a business.
Yeah, external demand. That's got to feel like serious validation.
Oh, yeah. It means the problem isn't just your college's problem. It's wider. And maybe your solution has real market potential.
But the story keeps it real. He's still juggling classes. They have no money, no real office, constantly learning new things they didn't know they needed to know.
The classic startup struggle. Resource constraints, constant learning curve.
But Daniel stays optimistic, drawing on his past. How vital is that resilience when you're facing challenges from all sides?
It's almost the defining trait, isn't it? Things will go wrong, setbacks happen, doubts creep in. Being able to bounce back, learn, keep moving forward, that's essential.
So ClassLink gets adopted by a couple of colleges. Success. But that brings new problems.
Always does. Now they need better infrastructure.
Okay, let's break that down for listeners. When we say infrastructure here, what are we talking about?
Think of it like the hidden plumbing and wiring. The servers hosting the app, the database storing the information, the code structure that lets lots of people use it at once without it crashing.
So as more schools sign up, the original setup just can't handle the traffic.
Exactly. It gets slow, maybe unreliable. They need to scale up bigger servers, smarter architecture to keep things running smoothly for everyone. It costs money and expertise.
Which leads him to the startup challenge, a pitch contest. $20,000 prize, plus mentorship.
That combination is gold for an early-stage venture. The cash helps, obviously, but the mentorship, getting guidance from people who've been there, invaluable.
They prep intensely, and Daniel nails the presentation. The source says he focused on the value proposition. What's that in simple terms?
It's the core benefit. Why should a college or students choose ClassLink? What problem does it solve better than anything else? He likely hammered home the efficiency, the ease of use, how it made student life better.
And they win. That's huge. Not just the money, but the validation again.
Big time. And it lets them get serious.
Right. Registering the company, opening a business bank account, hiring some student developers, renting a small office. These are real steps.
Moving from a project to an actual business entity. Building the framework for growth.
But again, reality bites. App crashes happen. Users complain. Daniel himself has moments of doubt.
Totally normal. It's never a straight lineup. Tech has glitches. Users give feedback, sometimes harsh. You question if you're really cut out for it. That's part of the ride.
How you respond is key, right?
Absolutely. Do you learn from it, adapt, fix things, or do you get overwhelmed?
And in one of those tough moments, he goes back to his old career map notebook, finds that line he wrote, "Fear is normal, quitting is not."
Wow. What a powerful personal mantra. Having that anchor from his own earlier self, that's strong.
It really speaks to the mindset needed, doesn't it? Acknowledging the fear, but refusing to let it win.
Grit, resilience, whatever you call it, that's it right there.
So ClassLink keeps growing, 5 colleges now. He gets invited to a young entrepreneur event.
Networking, super important.
And there he meets Raj Mehta, a venture capitalist. What's the significance of connecting with someone like that?
VCs are the people with the money and connections to help startups scale massively. Meeting one opens doors to potential investment, strategic advice, introductions, things that can seriously accelerate growth.
They think carefully, but eventually accept a small investment from Raj.
Smart move, probably. Not giving away too much control early on.
And they use that money strategically, improve the app, boost support, and crucially, land their first paid contract, a private university.
Ah, the first paying customer. That's a landmark.
Why is that specific milestone so important?
Because it proves someone values your product enough to actually pay for it out of their budget. It's not just interest, it's market validation. It shows you might have a sustainable business model.
Looking back at this chapter, you really see Daniel's transformation from small-town kid with an idea to a tech founder juggling all these complexities.
Embracing risk, learning constantly, adapting the dream as he goes. It's that dynamic entrepreneurial journey in action.
Okay, so ClassLink hits hypergrowth. Over 20 schools, teams bigger, more investors are interested, but success creates new pressures.
Yeah, the risk now is losing the plot, forgetting why you started.
That feels like such a critical danger zone for any fast-growing company.
It really is. The focus can easily drift to just numbers, downloads, deals, revenue, and away from the original mission. Needs conscious effort to stay grounded.
And members of his own team, Priya and Michael, they voice this exact concern. Are we still about helping students, or is it just about the deals now?
Having people internally who can raise that flag,
Yeah.
that's invaluable. Shows a healthy culture, hopefully.
It forces Daniel to confront it. Is that internal feedback mechanism crucial?
Absolutely essential. You need those checks and balances, people willing to speak truth to power, even if the power is the founder. Keeps you aligned.
And Daniel listens. He steps back, goes to the campus library where it all began, symbolically,
Revisits his roots.
and finds that reminder in his notebook. Never trade purpose for popularity. How vital is holding on to that original why?
It's your North Star. When you face tough choices, especially about growth versus mission, that core purpose guides you. It helps ensure the success you build is meaningful, not just big.
So they make a conscious decision, reevaluate the app, cut features that don't really serve students, add things that do time management tools, mental health resources, better feedback channels.
A deliberate pivot back to user value. Doubling down on the mission.
That's a brave move, especially if investors are pushing for pure scale.
Definitely. It shows they're playing the long game, building something sustainable based on real value, not just chasing short-term hype. Fosters loyalty.
And interestingly, this focus on purpose, even with some investor pushback, gets noticed. An article goes viral, praising their values-driven approach.
Which leads to organic growth.
Yeah.
People respond to authenticity.
It's that idea that doing good can be good for business, isn't it?
Increasingly, yes. People are looking for companies with a conscience that can be a real differentiator, build trust.
Then comes something unexpected but amazing. An email from a school principal in Kenya.
Wow. Saying, we want to use ClassLink, but we have very limited resources.
And instead of saying, sorry, not our market, they build a special version, tailored for low-resource settings. It ends up being used in schools across Africa.
That's just incredible impact. Taking their core idea and adapting it to serve a completely different community with significant needs, that speaks volumes about their commitment.
And this experience really shifts Daniel's whole perspective on success. It's not just charts and revenue anymore.
It's about the impact on actual lives.
He writes in his journal, success is not only what you build, it's what you protect while building it. What's the takeaway there?
It's that the how matters as much as the what. Building something great is one thing, but doing it in a way that upholds your values, protects your mission, that's the deeper win.
Okay, let's jump forward 4 years from that initial dream. ClassLink is now in over 100 schools, 3 countries, impacting 200,000 students.
Significant scale. The team's grown. Daniel's grown mentoring, teaching, finding more balance.
It really shows that the values-driven approach wasn't just sentimentality, it was sustainable.
It clearly worked, built a strong foundation.
And then, the big one, an acquisition offer. $25 million from a major tech company.
Life-changing money. The kind that makes you stop and really think.
Puts everything to the test, right? What does he value most?
Exactly. Personal wealth versus the future of ClassLink. What happens to the mission, the product, the team under new ownership? Loss of control is a big factor.
It's a massive decision.
Yeah.
Ethical, strategic, personal.
The ultimate fork in the road for many founders. Weighing the money against the intangible, the vision, the impact.
So he goes back home, Fairhaven, seeks out his dad.
And his dad gives him this gem. Son, money is a tool, but purpose, that's a compass. It keeps you going in the right direction.
Just cuts right through it, doesn't it?
Beautifully put. Money helps you get places, but purpose tells you where you should be going.
So Daniel makes the call. He turns down the $25 million.
Wow. Sticking to the mission. Prioritizing the impact on students over the personal payday, that takes conviction.
It really does. It's a powerful statement about what success truly means to him.
And instead of just coasting, he pivots again towards empowerment.
Creates Code to Lead, a program to teach tech skills to high school kids in small towns just like him.
Paying it forward, sharing his story, trying to inspire the next generation, completing the circle.
It feels like he's planting those tiny seeds his mother talked about, but now in others.
Absolutely. It's about fostering that next wave of innovators, especially those outside the usual tech hubs.
And the story ends so perfectly. Daniel meets this shy student dreaming of making an app, just like he was.
A mirror image of his own start.
And his advice brings it all together. Start small, stay curious, and never forget why you started.
The core lessons of his entire journey passed on. It shows the power of mentorship, the cycle continuing.
His final thought, his definition of the real win, it's not the money.
No, it's the lives you touch. His journal again. Success is not measured in dollars, but in the lives you touch. I didn't sell my company, but I built something I'll never lose.
Helping others climb, that's the ultimate achievement for him.
A really profound message. True success comes from making a meaningful difference.
So, looking back at Daniel's whole story, what are the big takeaways for us, for you listening?
Well, that early curiosity, definitely. The sheer hard work and persistence, identifying real problems, not just chasing shiny objects.
Building a team, a strong one, that shares your values. Being adaptable when challenges hit.
And maybe most importantly, staying true to your core purpose, especially when success brings pressure to drift.
Prioritizing impact over just the numbers.
And these aren't just tech lessons, are they? They apply anywhere, any field, any goal. It starts small with those tiny seeds.
Driven by a clear sense of purpose.
Exactly.
So maybe the final thought for you to chew on is this. What does your real win look like? How can you integrate purpose, positive impact into how you define success?
Yeah, think about those tiny seeds you might be planting right now. What could they grow into if you nurture them with intention, guided by your own why?
Something to reflect on as you navigate your own deep dive.